sort of greater proportion of 原住民, do you think that minorities think of themselves as Chinese in a general sense?
The minority self-identifications we know often depend upon the perceptions of the majority.
Right, that's true, yeah.
Yeah, that's a very serious problem. I think on the surface, at least I would say the Chinese cultural experience is much more humane and positive than the American cultural experience vis-a-vis the minorities. You can see the so-called American Indians, they're totally brutalized.
Yeah.
The Indians actually help Americans to survive. That's why we have this Thanksgiving, right? Turkey.
Right. The corn, maize.
And the Americans, the Protestants turned out to be extremely brutal towards virtually all the major, indigenous groups. So they're all wiped out. And in China, with the 56, maybe more, minority groups still flourishing. So that is a great tribute to the cosmopolitanism of Chinese culture.
Yeah.
And yet, as I pointed out, the Han Chinese, because they constitute 94% of the Chinese population, really failed to develop a very sophisticated, nuanced understanding of ethnic groups that are non-Han.
Yeah, definitely. Because I visited Ningxia last spring to study the Muslim Huizu, and so it was really interesting to see how there were both Chinese and American students on a trip, and there's very little understanding, I guess, of Muslim culture first of all, and then also of the conception of Huizu, both being in a different religion and yet also ethnic minority in China.
Actually, for the last 10 years, I've been involved in the project of Confucian Islamic dialogue. We began in Nanjing.
Oh.
Then we organized a group in Ningxiang, Yinchuan.
Oh, yeah.
And then another group in Kunming. And I think we were thinking about the possibility of one session in Lanzhou, but we didn't do that. And now among the postdoctoral fellows at my institute, one of them by the name Ali Mu, he graduated from Xinjiang. He's the first person of Xinjiang origin that got a PhD from Nanjing University in collaboration with the Tohoku in Japan. In other words, he's supported by these two universities. And recently I urged him to invite 10 non-Chinese speaking Uyghur scholars to come to Beidang to talk about their own Islam. And that turned out to be very, very illuminating for me.
Right.
And one of them was a famous writer too. And I decided I invited him to give a public talk, because we didn't publicize it, we just restricted to we organized a talk, a seminar room large enough for 30 or so people. That totally packed, so I had to move to a classroom for more than 200 people and packed again because the Uyghur people, Uyghur students, not only at Beidang but at Tsinghua, at Renmin Daxue, at Zhongyang Minzu Daxue, all showed up.
Right.
The security guards were so worried. They said, what's going on? I said, no, they're coming here to listen to a lecture in Uyghur.
Yeah.
And what the lecture was on the whole question about peace in their own tradition. It turned out to be extremely illuminating.
Yeah. I do find it interesting because there is still a bit of, when I was in China, my phone was stolen. I was, told by police, it must be those Uyghurs, it must be, things. Yeah, it was a bit.
This misconception is very, very dangerous.
Still very strong. Yeah. Okay, and then I guess one of my final questions is, lately there seems to be a rising trend as foreign universities and students in general are migrating to China. And do you think this is evidence of China's growing global recognition?
What do you mean migrating to China?
You're
using strong words.
Migrating.
They just wanted to go there to study
up their centers.
I think this is a new trend, and it's also indicates China's openness. You see, China is now rethinking very seriously about China's educational system. And the educational system in China needs to be thoroughly reformed. And I think the real challenge is, can China develop a form of education comparable to the liberal arts education in the United States, or for that matter in England? Is it possible? Of course, the term they use is 博雅
Yes.
博雅教育 or 素质教育 or 通才教育
Yeah, I actually was in the PKU Yale program, so I was in the Yuanpei 项目. So it was a different, it's more liberal arts.
And I'm told that the yearlies, people like you were not very satisfied with the courses offered by Peking University professors. And now the program
The program ended this year. Yeah, it
so
did.
what a tragedy.
Unfortunately, yeah. So I thought it was good. I felt
Tell me a
like-
little bit about 50 of you were involved, right?
Yeah.
So what is
a few
it's been
years.
going on for 5 years?
Yeah, it's been going on for I think about 5 years, but.
So
it's
tell me
a bit-
about the how the program functioned.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well,